Hey everyone, I've noticed many of you are enjoying my content, but a lot of you haven't subscribed yet. Subscribing doesn't cost a thing. It's absolutely free. If you like what you see and want to support me, just hit that subscribe button. It means so much to me and helps me keep creating the content you love. Thank you for being here. It truly means the world to me. At a bustling railway station in a city, there lived a beggar. He survived by asking for alms from the passengers traveling on trains that stopped at the station. Every day was a struggle, but he had learned to endure. One sunny afternoon, as he was making his rounds, he noticed a tall, sophisticated man dressed in an elegant suit. The man's demeanor exuded wealth and confidence. The beggar thought to himself, "This man looks very rich. If I ask him for alms, he might give me a generous amount." Gathering his courage, he approached the man with a hopeful expression and began to beg. The tall man stopped and looked at him intently, his gaze piercing yet calm. After a brief moment of silence, the man said, "You always ask from others, but tell me, have you ever given anything to anyone?" The beggar, taken aback, stammered, "Sir, I'm just a beggar. I always ask because I have nothing to give. How could I possibly give anything to anyone?" The man smiled faintly and replied, "If you can't give, then you have no right to ask. Life is about give and take. I'm a businessman and I believe in mutual exchange. If you have something to offer me, only then will I give you something in return." With that, the man boarded his train and disappeared, leaving the beggar standing there perplexed. The beggar sat on the platform, pondering the man's words. Those simple yet profound words echoed in his mind, stirring something deep within him. He thought, perhaps the reason I don't receive much is because I've never thought of giving anything in return. But what do I have to offer? I'm just a beggar with nothing to my name. For days, this question haunted him. He couldn't shake the thought that maybe there was some truth to what the man had said. On the third day, as he sat near the station, lost in thought, his eyes fell upon a cluster of vibrant flowers blooming on some nearby plants. The sight of those delicate blossoms sparked an idea. "Why don't I give flowers to people in return for their alms?" he thought. The simplicity of the idea filled him with newfound hope. He carefully picked a few flowers and tucked them into his bag. The next day he approached a train as it pulled into the station. With a mix of excitement and nervousness, he began begging. But this time, whenever someone gave him money, he offered them a flower in return. To his surprise, many people smiled warmly, and some even stopped to speak with him. Their reactions filled his heart with joy he hadn't felt in years. Over time, his little act of giving began to transform him. He became known as the beggar with flowers. People started seeking him out, not just for his flowers, but for the small yet heartfelt moments of connection he created. Some passengers even shared their stories with him, and in return, he listened intently, offering them not just flowers but also his kindness and presence. One day, as he handed a flower to a young woman, their hands brushed slightly, and she looked up at him with a gentle smile. Her warm eyes lingered for a moment longer than expected, sparking an inexplicable sensation in his chest. She thanked him softly, her voice like a melody. The fleeting interaction left him flustered but oddly elated. From that day on, he found himself eagerly awaiting her arrival, hoping to catch a glimpse of her radiant smile. Weeks passed, and their brief encounters turned into lingering conversations. She revealed that her name was Maya, and she was a teacher traveling to a nearby town daily. Maya was captivated by his unique approach to begging and admired his spirit. Gradually, their bond deepened, and what began as a chance meeting grew into a tender connection. The railway station, once a place of loneliness and survival, had become a setting for something beautiful and unexpected. Their moments together were filled with laughter and warmth. And soon, the beggar began to see himself through Maya's eyes, as someone worthy of love and respect. Her kindness inspired him to dream of a better life, and her presence gave him the courage to start anew. Love blossomed between them, as vibrant and fragile as the flowers he handed out each day. And in the quiet magic of those moments, the beggar realized that sometimes giving doesn't require wealth. All it takes is a heart willing to share something meaningful, be it a flower, a smile, or a moment of connection. Every morning, the beggar woke up with a renewed purpose. He would head to the station, pick fresh flowers, and prepare for the day. He no longer begged with an empty heart. He now offered something in return. People noticed the change in him, his sincerity, and the small but meaningful gesture of giving flowers. Travelers began to appreciate his effort, cherishing the flowers as tokens of goodwill. His little act brought smiles to faces that were otherwise hurried or weary from travel. The beggar's new approach brought him more success than he had ever imagined. More people started giving him money, and his days were brighter, filled with exchanges of kindness. However, he soon realized something. The flowers were finite. On days when he ran out, the generosity of passengers waned. He began to understand that his giving needed consistency and sustainability if he truly wanted to make a change in his life. One afternoon, as he was begging on a train, he saw a familiar face, the tall, well-dressed man who had once challenged him to give. Excitement bubbled within him as he approached the man. With a confident smile, he said, "Today, I have something to offer you. Please give me alms, and in return, I will give you these flowers." The man raised an eyebrow, intrigued, and then broke into a warm smile. He handed the beggar some money and graciously accepted the flowers. "Wonderful," the man exclaimed. "You've become a businessman just like me." The beggar felt a surge of pride. The man's words were no longer just advice. They had become a validation of his efforts. As the train pulled away, leaving him standing on the platform, he looked up at the sky. A newfound determination lit up his eyes. "I am not a beggar anymore," he shouted with conviction. "I am a businessman. I can become rich." People around him turned their heads, some shaking their heads in disbelief, others watching with curiosity. But the beggar didn't care about their opinions. For the first time, he truly believed in himself. Months passed. The beggar's transformation was remarkable. He saved the money he earned and started buying flower seeds. With time, he cultivated his own flowers, expanding his small operation into a flourishing business. His passion and determination fueled his success, and he quickly became a well-known flower merchant in the area. The railway station, which had once been his place of struggle, was now the foundation of his thriving enterprise. 6 months later, at the same station, two well-dressed men crossed paths. One extended his hand for a handshake, smiling warmly. "Do you recognize me?" he asked. The other man looked at him curiously. "No, I don't believe we've met before." The first man's smile widened. "Oh, but we have. Twice, in fact. Don't you remember the beggar you once spoke to?" The second man's eyes widened in surprise. "The beggar?" "Oh yes, I remember. I once refused to give you money, and the second time I bought flowers from you. But look at you now. You're so well dressed. What are you doing these days?" The former beggar chuckled softly. "Yes, I was that beggar. But today I am a successful flower merchant. I'm on my way to another city to expand my business. And you, sir, taught me one of the most valuable lessons of my life, that life is about give and take." The tall man, now deeply impressed, responded, "I simply planted a seed. You nurtured it and turned it into something extraordinary. Congratulations on your success." As the two men parted ways, the flower merchant stood on the platform reflecting on his journey. He thought of the many moments of struggle, the kindness of strangers, and the spark of inspiration that had set him on this path. And as he boarded the train to pursue his next venture, he carried with him not just flowers but the wisdom that life's greatest transformations begin with a simple act of giving. The rule of life is simple, yet profound. We only receive when we give. This rule didn't just change my life, it completely transformed it. I realized something important. I was never truly a beggar. I was always a businessman, but I never saw myself that way. People weren't simply giving me alms, they were paying for the flowers I offered. That simple shift in perspective changed everything. The money I earned allowed me to buy more flowers, and before I knew it, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. Today, I run a successful flower business, and it's all thanks to the lesson you taught me. The two men exchanged smiles, their eyes meeting in a moment of mutual respect. The former beggar's story resonated deeply, not just as a tale of success, but as a testament to the transformative power of self-belief. As the train carried them onward, their conversation left an indelible impression on both their journeys. This story carries a profound lesson about life. Often, we limit ourselves with beliefs that we are incapable or unworthy of success. Just like the beggar once thought of himself as merely a beggar, we sometimes underestimate our own potential. But true transformation begins with a shift in mindset. When we move beyond the act of merely taking and focus on giving, whether through kindness, effort, or adding value, we unlock doors to opportunities and growth. The rule of giving and receiving is not just a business principle, it is a universal life philosophy. It fosters mutual benefit and shared prosperity. When we give something of value, we don't just enrich others, we enrich ourselves. Success, as the beggar-turned-businessman discovered, is deeply tied to how we perceive ourselves. If we see ourselves as small or insignificant, others will mirror that view. But when we believe in our potential and take actionable steps toward realizing it, the world begins to respond in kind. The journey of the beggar reminds us that no dream is too big, and no situation is too hopeless. It challenges us to think differently, act boldly, and trust in our ability to rise above our circumstances. His story is proof that even in the most challenging situations, when we dare to dream and take steps forward, life responds with endless possibilities. Imagine the transformation he experienced, not just in his outward circumstances, but within himself. The joy of creating something valuable and the pride of standing tall, no longer defined by the pity of others but by his own determination, is a lesson for us all. Life isn't just about survival. It's about finding meaning, connection, and the courage to see ourselves as more than we once believed. Let this story inspire us to view life through the lens of giving, growth, and gratitude. For in doing so, we not only change our own lives, but touch the lives of those around us, leaving a legacy that blossoms like the most beautiful of flowers.